Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Today we're back in the kitchen. We're going to make a classic lasagna. And what I mean by a classic lasagna is that we're going to be using nothing but Italian style cheeses, ricotta, and even the sauces. I'm going to show you a shortcut that I learned from professional chefs on making a really good classic lasagna. And we're going to be using a real standard lasagna dish. It's going to be meat, and we're going to be using ground hamburger meat. 80/20 is the type of hamburger meat because, number one, we don't want too much fat, but we do want some fat. 93% lean is too lean, and 73% is too fatty. And you get a lot of shrinkage with the 73%. So 80/20 is what I typically use in terms of hamburger meat, especially for lasagna. That also is the same hamburger when I make a hamburger. So 80/20 is pretty much the standard, and it holds really well. You need that fat as the binder. In this case, the fat's not so much the binder, but there's a quicker way to save some steps, and we're going to get right to that. Okay, first thing that we want to do is start our sauce heating up. And first thing that we're going to do, we're going to be using diced tomatoes. So this is a 28-ounce can. I like to make plenty of sauce. And so I have I always use two 28-ounce cans of tomatoes. And these are diced. Some are diced a little finer. Some you can use petite or just regular dice. So right here we have the diced, and then also I'm going to put in 1 jar of marinara. And the marinara sauce, the reason why I add that is because it has all the spices, all the salt, everything that you need is already going to be in that marinara sauce. So the only thing that you really need to do is add a little bit of oregano and whatever, let's see, the oregano and basil to the meat when it's cooking. And so we have all of the spices here. We're going to turn this on. We're going to start this, and then we're going to start cooking the hamburger meat to put into the sauce. So we're going to get this going. We're going to put this down really low, 400. Then we're going to start this one up, and then get this one going for the hamburger meat. So we're going to cover this to hold any kind of heat. And right now, this is 3 pounds of hamburger meat. I don't need all 3 pounds, but it's nice to have it because we do have some shrinkage, and everybody likes a meatier pasta than a less meatier one. So we're going to put 1.5 of these into for browning. And while we're browning, we're also going to add the spices, the oregano and basil, to the ground beef. And this ground beef, like I said earlier, is the 80/20. I like using 80/20 because you have some fat, but not too much fat. And that's important, not having too much fat, because then you get a lot of shrinkage and you have to throw away a lot of the fat, because we have to drain that off before we put it into the marinara sauce. So we want to start breaking this up. I'll break down the ground beef into small pieces and let it cook. And I'll tell you what, this brings me back to a really fun time of my life when I was growing up. I was in high school. My girlfriend, I had an Italian girlfriend when I was in high school. And also, I had Italian friends once I got out of high school and into the work world. In fact, one of my best friends, his mother worked in the kitchen of a famous Italian place here in Oakland that lasted for a long time. And I'll tell you what, you could eat pretty cheaply. I like to use a lot of oregano and basil. The basil brings out the sweetness. And then you can smell the sweetness on the basil. And that's the basil I'm using, the McCormick organic basil. So put a bunch of that in there. Also, the oregano here. But anyway, back to the Italian restaurant. It brings back a lot of great memories. We were able to eat really well. My friend, whose mother worked there, we worked together when I was fresh out of high school and working for a company called Grand Auto. And he was a mechanic. I worked inside the store. And after work, he'd say, "Hey, let's go get a meal." My mom works for a restaurant, and we can get a good meal there. And so when I said what restaurant she worked at, and I was already going to this particular restaurant, which was Bertola's. Bertola's in Oakland. They were at 45th Street and Telegraph. Long time. They've been in business since 1934, I believe it was. A long time. My friend worked there, or his mother worked there, and it was fun. We could go. When I met her, he introduced us, and she was such a nice lady. And she worked in the kitchen. She said, "Oh, anytime you're here, just ask for me, and I'll come out, and I'll take care of you." I said, "What? You don't have to do that." And she said, "No, that's us Italian moms. We love doing this." And so that was one of my memories, great memories from my early years, and so I never forgot that. And so Italian food brings back a lot of good memories for me. I had a Italian girlfriend, like I said. That didn't work out so well, but the food, I just really love the food, and because her mother would cook lasagna, and so that's kind of where I learned this one, because she was a real Italian lady. She stayed at home, and all she did was cook, and every time I went over to my Italian girlfriend's place, Mom always had something in the kitchen. Mom was great. Mom loved me. I was a good kid. I had car and good grades in high school. So I came from a good family, and they were a good family. But like I said, things didn't work out, and we moved on. But again, the Italian food always stuck with my memory, stuck in my memory. So that's always been fun. You shouldn't have to add much salt, if any salt. If anything, maybe a little bit more on the spices. I'm going to be adding some more basil here, because I love the aroma of basil and also the flavor of basil. So this is all cooking down pretty well now, and once we get this pretty well browned, mostly it's for cooking out the fat. You see all the fat, how it's rendering out. And we got to drain all that out. That can't go into the lasagna. And one of the things with lasagna, uh, it brought me back to my childhood. There was a cartoon strip called Garfield, and he loved uh, Italian lasagna. That was one of the things about the cartoon. He hated Mondays, but always loved his lasagna. So I kind of took after that. I loved my lasagna. My mother knew that I liked lasagna a lot. Uh, so it was a happy time in my life. So I associate the happy times with Italian food, and so this could be a bring back great memories for you also. But this has to cook down. This is going to be cooking for a little while the sauce renders down. And so this is just about ready here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to strain off all of the fat. So I'm going to drain that off. We'll be right back. Okay, now that the fat has been drained out, rendered off, now we're going to put it into the pot here and mix in. I'm going to move it over here, a little easier to use. 1200, and then we're going to fold this in. We're not going to be adding any onions or anything else because it's already in here. The onions are in the sauce. And so right now what we want to do, we just want to break down the sauce, heat it up, get it hot, nice and hot. We want it kind of soupy because what we're going to do next when we start putting it together is a lot of people make the mistake of cooking the pasta, making it soft, and then putting everything together. You don't need to do that. That's why I use oven ready. These are ready to go in the platter as they sit. You don't have to cook them, nothing. Just take the hard sheet, put them into the lasagna tray, dry, and then put the sauces and everything. And then during the cooking processes, the noodles themselves will absorb all of that excess moisture. And so that's why you don't want to cook your macaroni noodles and then put the pasta together. You want to do it with the uncooked pasta noodles. But then one of the most important things when you do that, you have to use a spray to keep everything from sticking and really burning on. So right now I sprayed Pam onto the entire lasagna bowl dish, and so it's absorbing into the pores of the ceramic right now. But when we start putting everything together, it'll go together really nice. And then at the end, when you are doing cleanup, it's a lot easier cleaning up. You don't have to use a steel scouring pad to get all the burned on food off of the container, the tray, the cooking ceramic tray. And so anyway, we're going to come back in about an hour, let this cook down. We're going to reduce the heat down to 600 and then down to 400 shortly. That's 400 watts, 600 watts. So that's medium low temperature at 400 watts, medium pretty close to medium temperature, 600 to 800, and so we're going to do 600, and then we're going to be reducing it down to 400 as we get into the hour. Okay, we're back. Here's the sauce. This is all cooked down now. This has been about an hour, 15 minutes, and we got rid of all that excess moisture. Now we're going to start assembling the lasagna. And so we have a standard lasagna platter right here. And what I've done, I pre-sprayed this with Pam non-stick cook. You can use the baking. Baking sticks a little better and is a little thicker, but the regular Pam also works. And then in terms of your cheese, you can use the basic mozzarella cheese, which is standard in most all lasagnas. But I like to add in Italian style cheese. There's 6 different cheeses here, and you want to make sure you get low moisture. Low moisture is important when you make a lasagna. And so in here we have the mozzarella, provolone, a smoke flavor, Asiago, which is really nice. That has a really nice flavor, Asiago, Parmesan Romano, and Fortina cheeses. So those are real Italian cheeses, and they really make lasagna stand out. And then also the ricotta cheese right here. But I know ricotta has always been kind of a pain to put in lasagna over the years. And so what I've learned was make it like a pastry bag. Cut off the, put it into the bag, chill it, and then cut off the very end when you're assembling, before you start assembling, and that way you can have better control of it. I left this out for about an hour to soften, so that's ready to go. So once I get a nice spread on here, I can use a wide spatula to spread the ricotta cheese nice and wide. And so what I'll do is I'll use this to spread that cheese. So anyway, we're going to get started. Here we have the oven ready lasagna noodles. You could, depending on your tray, you're either going to need 3 or 4 to go wide. And when it absorbs, it's going to absorb the moisture from the sauce there. So you don't want to pre-cook this. You just want to put it into the pan. So the first thing that we want to do is coat the bottom of the pan, and with a very light coat. So we're going to put 2 scoops in here, and then gently spread that around so that we get coverage along the bottom, good coverage. And so get a little bit more, cover that bald spot there, because we want good coverage on everything. And then after that, we want to start putting in the noodles. So we're going to have a little bit of overlap here, which is fine. So we're going to go 4 wide on this. Then we're going to put another layer of sauce, the meat sauce on there. But we're going to thin it out. We want it kind of thin. We don't want it too thick. And you see there's plenty of moisture. So you say that there may not be enough moisture. That's what a lot of people think. Believe me, folks, there are plenty of moisture in the meat sauce right here. I mean, just look at this. I'm just patting it down, and you can see all the moisture. So anyway, I'm going to put the first layer of cheese on there. Well, I still got a little more here to cover. Make sure that it's all level, all tapped down, that all the noodles are completely covered. And then you just want a nice light coating of the cheese. You want plenty of cheese, but you don't want it too heavy, because you don't want your lasagna to be falling apart. And so you just want a nice light dusting of cheese. And don't worry about the noodles not going end to end, because it'll be fine, because those noodles are going to puff up. But anyway, here's what I'm going to do. Just cut the very end off there just like that, and then that allows me to be able to squeeze the ricotta in a nice line. And one more. And just like that, the ricotta cheese is in place. And now all I want to do is kind of spread that out a little bit. So we're just going to push that down. Just kind of push that down into the sauce, and that's it. See how I'm spreading it out? I'm just lightly tapping the ricotta softly, and it spreads out. We want a nice layer of cheese everywhere. Spreads that flavor. And the ricotta is softening because of the heat from the sauce. So anyway, that's the first layer. Now we're going to put some more noodles on there. So we'll get some more noodles out of the box here. So we'll put 1, 2, 3, and overlap on the 4. So it's the mirror image of the first layer. And now again, all we do is just put another layer on top and just repeat until we fill the tray. And that's all we're going to do. So we'll be right back after I finish assembling. Okay, this is all finished and ready for the oven now. We used up 1 whole box of the lasagna noodles. So there were 12 noodles in here. There's 12 noodles in this. What I did at the very end, so that I used up everything here, didn't have that 1 or 2 pieces left like everybody usually does. I broke them in half and filled in the blank spots. There was a blank spot here because I shifted everything so that the top noodles butted up against the very rim here, and then that left a space about that much. So I took the last 2 noodles, broke them in half, and then put them and overlapped, and then put the sauce on top, and then did the same thing. And a lot of you thought, hey, there's going to be a lot of sauce left. Guess what? There isn't. There might be about 2 scoops left in there. So everything I did was just for 1 lasagna. And then on this, it's going to go into the oven for 45 minutes, mostly to cook down, put a nice brown coating on here, and then remove a lot of the moisture, and then also gives time for the noodles to absorb all of the moisture and dry out a bit. So when we come back in an hour, because we're going to take it out of the oven at 45-50 minutes, then it's going to sit for 15 to 20 minutes to set, and then we're going to cut all the way around and then start cutting for the individual pieces. This here cost was close to $70, almost $75 with the real premium cheese. You can cut a lot of that out. You can probably cut about $14 out if you just use the lower plain mozzarella cheese. It's not as flavorful, but it does save a lot of money. This will easily feed a family of up to 6 people. in one feeding. So this is very economical. There's a lot of meat in here, a lot of cheese, so there's a lot of protein, and it really is flavorful. So we'll come back after in an hour and show you what it looks like. Okay, it's been an hour, so we're going to take this out. It's so heavy I can't pick it up with the pizza pan, so that's why we have oven mitts. And here it comes. There's a lot of food here, and that's nearly 2 nights worth of food. If you look at how thick it is, that's 3 inches. And then we're going to get at least 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 5, 10, 15 pieces of lasagna. So that's a lot of food, folks. That'll feed a lot of people. And each one is 3 inches thick. So that is a classic Italian lasagna. Takes a little bit of time. It's about $70, $75 for all the ingredients, but it'll feed a family of 4 for 2 nights. So at least 2 nights. And while it sounds like a lot of money, it's not. It's healthy, it's clean, you know what went in it. We didn't add any salt. That's the important thing. We didn't add any salt in there. We relied on the salt that was in the diced tomatoes and the marinara sauce. And then also there's salt in cheese. So there's plenty of salt in there, and we didn't have to do it. Thanks for joining me. I hope you take the time to make this really nice Italian classic lasagna.